Welcome to the smartest people in the room. We are glad you are here, and just by showing up, you are already demonstrating your very own smarts. Today, I am pleased to kick off Women's History Month by presenting two amazingly talented and accomplished executives who operate out of London, but whose impact on the music business is global. I promise you will leave here tonight smarter and more enlightened than you arrived. Before we get started, please let me take care of some business. First, to the audience, please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat window. The reason we do these webinars is twofold. First, we want to showcase really smart people and the amazing work they do day to day in the music industry. But the second reason is a bit more nuanced. Many of you know that I am a music industry headhunter. I run the music practice at Turnkey ZRG, and I place music executives in roles throughout the industry. So by definition and function, I help people connect with companies. And in this series, my goal is to help you make more connections, and I invite you to take full advantage of that opportunity. Specifically, I invite you to engage with the speakers and the other attendees in the chat of the Zoom. Please introduce yourselves, share your LinkedIn profile, say hello to your friends, and make some new ones. And please ask questions of our speakers. We will try to address as many of those as possible during the session. Also, and this is very important, please make sure your chat is set to address everyone, not just the host and speakers. I want to thank our program sponsors, for without their support, we could not keep this series free. Special thank you to MedJet, Turnkey ZRG, the Tennessee Entertainment Commission, Tennessee Brew Works, and Better Than Booze. So let's get down to business. In tonight's or today's host seat is Chloé Ameh. She's an accomplished, award-winning, and highly driven senior music executive who's played an influential part in the success of many high-profile records. In Chloé, you will find an individual motivated by alternative thinking, setting new trends, and working outside of boundaries to disruptively deliver on campaigns and artist growth. As founder of That's My Jam, music business consultancy service, Chloé's ambition is to level out the playing field for independent talent in the music industry. She's worked with incredible talent across an array of genres, including Beyonce, Tyla, Thames, Chris Brown, Pharrell Williams, Cat Burns, Fredo, and many more. With over 15 years of experience in the music industry, her previous roles include GM at Muzo by Uzo, a record label founded by Eminem, head of label at since 93, and with a 10-year tenure at Sony Music and a stretch at Live Nation, all extensively across music marketing. And joining her tonight is Pryce. She's director of label management at the Orchard UK. Her career includes pivotal roles at MCA Universal Music, Atlantic Records, AEG, and the O2 Arena, and Mobo, as well as consulting for US companies such as Time Zone International, Koch Entertainment, and In the Paint Records, SMC Recordings, and Strange Music. As one half of the iconic UK rap group, the Cookie Crew, she began her career as a recording artist, collaborating with homegrown talent such as Danny D and US music greats like Gang Starr, Stetasonic, Black Sheep, Davey DMX, Roy Ayers, and Edwin Starr. Sharing the stage with legends such as Public Enemy, De La Soul, Guy, and supporting Bobby Brown at Wembley solidified her deep connection to the music industry and its culture. In marketing and promotions, Cookies contributed to campaigns for a wide array of music icons, including Missy Elliott, Lil' Kim, Lupe Fiasco, Brandy, Twista, Tweet, Pretty Ricky, Rakim, Mary J. Blige, Black Eyed Peas, Erykah Badu, The Roots, Fredo Starr, KRS-One, Raekwon, RZA, and Eve. These experiences laid a solid foundation for her work as an independent consultant, where she's advised local and international artists and labels, particularly from a UK perspective, on navigating the ever-evolving music industry. It is my pleasure to welcome these two London-based rock stars to our platform today. Take it away, ladies.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us in this space. This is really nice, and it'll be great to know also where people are from. I know that people from Vancouver. I see I have a colleague, Tanya, that's on the call, and yeah, it'd be great to know where people are from. And I'm just excited to be here and to turn up. I turned up and I see Chloe and we're both wearing pink. What's going on? What happened? Where did we
We
get?
got the memo. We got the subconscious memo. We're here. We don't need to talk about it. We've just we
This is
understood.
it.
We
This is it.
understood the assignment.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's been a lovely day, and it's it's great to actually have this time to sit down with you, Chloe, and that you're sitting on a throne. Is that what you're sitting on a throne?
So every conference or video call that I have, I get asked this question. Yes, this is my official chair, but it is a throne. But it's actually a music video prop, so it's got some history behind it. This is Lady Leisha's chair from music video. Where are you now? I worked with Leisha for a while, and when we had no use for the chair after about must have been about 7 or 8 years later, I was like, I'll take that when I was the only person left on the team, um, yeah, still within the team. So yeah, you know, love a throne,
Yeah,
and yeah, it's got a little bit of a memory behind it. My memorabilia,
that's good.
not one that you can put in your pocket, but yeah.
No, it's good, and it suits you, of course. Absolutely suits you.
Thank
Because
you.
I've been in the industry for a very long time, and I started off back in the early '80s, right? And and it's so wonderful for me to be sitting here with someone like yourselves. And we're celebrating International Women's Month. It's International Women's Day every day, as far as I'm concerned. But we had the opportunity of working together. I think it was probably the back end of 2023 is when I met you. I feel like I've known you
Yeah.
for a lifetime.
We've been
Um,
passing ships, but yeah,
we
properly
have.
working. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the industry is so small. Well, no, so the industry is big, but somehow there's a small element to it where we are all always crossing paths. And I didn't realize how long you had been in the industry and where you worked. So we were seriously crossing paths. But it's just it's nice that our journeys have kind of connected us in this way. And when I think about my history and my career and where it's taken me from this young person in South London that just kind of like was fell in love with hip hop, and eventually it just became something that it became my life. Everything that I do it always gears towards hip hop, and all the jobs that I've done, it's always been a passion for, obviously, for Black music, and always uplifting Black music, Black British music. And as the years have gone by, it's been important for me to make sure that I'm seeing executives that look like ourselves, to see what their journey's like, because our journeys have been quite interesting. I know you've worked on quite a few projects over the years. If you want to, tell me about some of those.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. So, oh goodness. So I worked at one of the big majors for 10 years. So, oh my goodness, so many different projects. Initially, when I started at Sony, I worked across Epic, Columbia, and RCA. And so that was working across John Legend, and then also working with that X Factor acts, the Michael Jackson project as well. And there's so many. And then obviously, with the RCA roster, international roster, which was a main focus back at that time as well. Chris Brown, Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake. So there's been a lot of incredible projects to be a part of. And yeah, it's crazy just like seeing how things have changed over like the decade. The
Mhm.
landscape is not
Yeah,
the same. And you've been in the industry for so long, so you can speak on it, even more than I can. But just the way that music is consumed now is so
yeah.
different, and the way that you have to navigate things, I find
It
it really exciting. I think it's like it's so interesting, but yeah, it presents so many challenges. And you know as you move through those different phases, there's always, there's pros and cons to everything. So there's, it will benefit some people and it won't be, as advantageous to others, but you just have to embrace the change.
Absolutely. And the transition, the transition from myself being obviously a music fan, then being an artist, and then after that kind of side of my career was slowing down. It was like, what am I going to do next? I know I love music, and that's the area I'm sticking in, but I didn't understand the landscape other than being an artist, being signed to a label, getting to know what the infrastructure looks like, how we were looked at, how we were marketed. I think I learned a lot from that because we knew a lot about ourselves. So we were also educating people that we were working with. Like, we don't want to look like that. We don't want to dress like that. You know, what is, you know, we questioned everything. So, and that was part of my learning process, not knowing that I want to go into the music business. I didn't know,
Mm.
besides being an artist, okay, press department, radio, marketing. But prior to that, I didn't have a clue. We were looking at, you know, sifting through record sleeves, looking at artwork, reading all the credits, just kind of figuring it out. And our thing was one day we thought we were going to be singers for some reason. You know, that clearly didn't happen, but this thing called hip hop just came into our lives. We embraced it and we ran with it. And it was just something that's kind of, for me, it's kind of like laid the foundation for what I do today in any role that I've done. And I believe that I work hard in my role, any role that I've done. And the fact that we have been in the industry for quite a while and we still have that staying power. You know, against all the odds, we know that we're always jumping hurdles and, you know, trying to push down doors to be seen and to be heard. So it has been a battle, but it's been a good battle. You know,
Yeah.
it's been a positive battle. If we didn't have that, then I don't think any of us would be sitting here now. And for me, what is beautiful is that I'm seeing more, you know, more women. You know, I don't care what color they are, there's more women, but also to step into an environment and I'm seeing young people of color coming through and they're passionate about their work. You know, and I will always instill in them, it's like, don't, you know, we can all get excited about what we do, but stay focused on what your goal is and how you want to navigate the industry, because we know what the industry is like to navigate. And, you know, I've had the opportunity to work in different environments. I've done press, radio, TV, marketing, and, you know, with no formal training, it's just been thrown in a deep end, or periods when I'm not working full time for a company and I'm freelancing, because I went through a period of being
Mm.
independent. And that was amazing. I enjoyed all of that because I was doing the work. I was hiring the people that I needed to do certain things for a project. And as long as we delivered, it was great. So I was always learning and hustling, had to hustle. Nothing was given to me.
Yes. Do you know what? That is the one thing that I'm learning now. Like I'm really like I'm in that phase now. Obviously, I've started That's My Jam, and it's been going for like nearly, well, for about 18 months. But that's the phase where I'm in now, where it's like my whole kind of career has been it's been very corporate and in like very secure walls. And now navigating this space, it's like you realize, okay, those relationships that you've built are probably the most important
Mhm.
thing out out of everything, you know. Experience, I mean, that experience, again, nothing like it. You can learn on the job. Those things that you're saying, that, you know, there was no formal training, that because, you know, I remember when I first started in music, I was like, okay, we're doing this. And it's like, okay, there's no one to sign anything off. You've got all these ideas and you're discussing it with people. And it's kind of just like, okay, because in marketing, essentially, there is no wrong or right answer. It's very experimental,
Exactly.
especially now, like with algorithms and things. And, you know, but it's
Yeah.
like, that is and was the beauty of it. It's like you're testing and trying things yourself and figuring out what works. But stepping outside of those walls and kind of being in my more independent space and running my own company, you realize how much you're actually bringing to it, because
Hmm.
you you know you know, in those walls, it's about the people and what they bring to the company. And
Yeah.
sometimes, you know, just being completely open, you know, when you're in such a big prestigious company, you feel like, oh my goodness, like this is incredible. And it is
Hmm.
incredible, but you feel like, or you can feel like, I suppose, to speak to my experience, that wow, like, can I manage or can I survive outside these walls?
Yeah.
But it's the people that bring it. And, you know,
People.
100%. And, you know,
And
leaning
sometimes,
on,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah,
And
no, I
I'm
was
going to
gonna
say
say, just
sometimes
leaning on.
when you get thrown in a deep end, you realize that you can actually survive when you think you can't swim. Do you know what I mean? I've had those moments where a situation has ended. It's like, oh my God, what am I going to do next? I have to keep myself occupied. I have to hustle without being too out there, but I know I have to do it for myself, and that could be pride as well. But also,
Mhm.
you know, built to work, right? And the stuff that we're working on is so close to home. Um, and we're so passionate about it. And it's not about the corporate side or money. It's like, I do this because I do this,
Because you
you
love
know.
it.
I
Yeah,
love
it's
it.
passion. Yeah. For me,
Absolutely.
music is life. Like it is life, it's the passion, and being able to work in it is an absolute privilege.
Hmm.
And it's something that I enjoy, like something that I enjoy, and that is not going to be a task or feel like a chore. And that's what
Hmm.
you want when you're working, right? Like, I mean, let's be real. If we didn't have to work, we'd be on the beach all day, right? but if we but
But
if
beach
we
costs
do
money.
have right. So if we're gonna do something, we might as well absolutely enjoy it. And it's so fulfilling, like, just seeing that it's something small can lead on to something massive. And
Yeah.
it's really rewarding. So yeah,
Yeah, and I
love.
am always I'm always curious about what people in the music industry outside of the UK, what they know about the UK industry, and how, like black executives, who they're aware of, because there's loads, we've been around forever. There's loads of people, um and we're all sitting in different spaces, and I always wonder what if we all came together and, set up something and just done something amazing. And I just think it's so important that our presence, I will be doing this until it's time that I can't do it. That could be my legs being chopped off or whatever, but nobody's going to tell me I can't do this. And if something ends, there's always going to be a something in the back end that's going to be waiting for me to kind of like activate. I don't, I've always had people asking me, why don't you go out and do stuff on your own? And it's like, I'd love to go back out and do what I used to do. That was amazing, but I was much younger. I could do all
Yeah.
that running around. I could be in the clubs. I could be, entertaining clients and pitching for clients, because that was the key thing, right? When you're working independently, is pitching for clients, but also keeping those relationships open. So wherever you go in your career, whether you're working independently or you're working for a company, you want to make sure that you keep those good relationships. So just anything can happen, So, just
Yeah.
keep those dots connected.
Definitely. I know it sounds cliche and maybe people have heard it a few times, but I want to reinforce it. Your network is your net worth.
Yeah.
Honestly, like as you said, when you feel like you're in the deep end, especially if you're consulting and it can feel isolating sometimes. But when you've got that network and there's people that you can lean on, and
Hmm.
and the industry is big, but it's small. Like they say in life, there's 6 degrees of separation. Like we're all connected, like globally. I think it's smaller in music, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, so just knowing, you need to foster those relationships and you can lean on those and people can lean back on you as well,
Hmm.
yeah, it just feels a little bit more secure in that way when you think of it
Yeah.
in that way.
Yeah. And obviously, from my history and still being here, I've finding it very important. It's very important for me to make sure that I keep talking, I keep having these conversations. If people want me to come and talk about things, I will always come and discuss it. I will always make sure that the young generation coming through, that I will always act as a mentor to them, officially or unofficially, because it's important that we we ensure that they understand what the foundation looks like and what that journey looks like. Because the younger generation are different. There's a generation where they're jumping in and out of jobs because they can, they're confident. And I love that. I love that they're fearless. I come from a generation where it was slightly different. You were slightly careful about everything, but still stood your grounds on things. But they seem to have fire in their belly and moving forward. If something ain't working for them, they're gone. It's like, wow, okay. But that's a good thing. And I'd always tell people to travel. If you get an opportunity,
Yeah,
travel and do your work. Just, put yourself out there. But yeah, it's been an interesting one for me. And I do sometimes wonder, why am I still here, or how am I still here? But I guess, as I
but
always
that's a
say,
testament to you. That's a
yeah,
testament to
it's
you and
what I
how incredible
do.
you are at what you do. Exactly.
That whole
And I
support
think
thing.
I was going to say that you've got a really unique lens because obviously from like transitioning from being an artist to then being like an exec within music, it's like your view and the way you see things will be quite different to other people who have just come up in the strictly corporate world.
Yeah.
um, and the thing I love about now is that, or we know that obviously as you're saying that representation is so important. I feel like my personal journey starting out, that it wasn't there. I couldn't, there wasn't, these webinars where I could look to someone who's kind of maybe experienced a similar or even remotely like
Mm.
relatable journey to what I've had. And I can, feel like I can achieve that, or I can reach out and, we can have a conversation about these things. And, you know, that's why it's so important for us to, be included in these things, put ourselves forward and be present in this, because, as much as we might not even be aware of people who are listening in and taking note, that they are, and if it's one person who can be inspired, then absolutely, like, that's a win.
I had to
So
step out. I had to step out of the UK. Well, I have a mentor, an amazing woman called Vivian Scott Chew, who has a company called Time Zone International. And I could probably confidently say that she kind of saved me from how I was feeling about working in the UK, how I felt where I was working, how I was treated, particularly with the music that we were working. And she was just an incredible woman. And she was someone that when the Cookie Crew was signed to, we were signed to London Records, which is Polygram worldwide. So every time we were going to the US to do promo, to go and do videos, or whatever we were doing out in the US, she was our point person. She was the woman that was in the black music department. She was the one when we came through. It's like they'll take us up to a certain floor, and it's like, this is the black music department. We're like, oh, okay. And everybody in there just looked like us, right? Aunties and uncles and family. Like, this is real. And we just felt so comfortable with it. And they looked after us. And it was from that, and just us having that back and forth relationship, and traveling and recording, and recording with amazing people in the US as well as the UK, that when I was working, where was I? I think I was at Universal at the time in the UK, MCA Universal. And there were changes happening in the company, and I was part of the change. And I was like, I didn't understand this whole thing of redundancies, and we don't need you anymore. And then it's like, oh, this is weird, because I've always worked for myself. Prior to that, I've always kind of like worked for myself. And it was just a transition for me that I found a little bit confusing. But I always found when I stepped out of the UK and went to the US, I was more welcomed. I was invited into spaces. I was invited to meetings. I was a part of the conversation. And it just so happens on the actual week that I was made redundant, we had an artist coming over to do TV promo and stuff, and I was sorting out all the rehearsals and the dancers and all this kind of stuff. I still done my work, even though they said your services are no longer needed after this week. I'm like, I'm not the sort of person to like flip the table and walk out. It's like, I've got a job to do. And fortunately, that last week, right, I had booked a dance studio for the dancers to rehearse for this TV show. And I think I was working on the itinerary, and we saw names in the itinerary. I saw this name, Vivian Scott Chew, if anybody knows Vivian Scott Chew from Times International. And she saw my name on the itinerary from the US side. And when she came over, and I went to the rehearsal space to kind of like just, meet everybody. And I walked into this room and I saw this woman. And we just looked at each other. And I said, Vivian. And she said, Cookie. And it's like from that day, she has been my mentor. She's been my go-to. We've just been so close. And it's unbelievable. And that same week, she goes, I told her what was happening, that I'm not going to be working here anymore. She goes, why don't you just come and work with me? So I'm like,
love that.
Okay. I packed my bags. I was gone. And it was the best opportunity. Nobody else would have given me that opportunity. So I done that, I packed up. The good job is the safe thing for me about the US is that I have family there, I have friends there. So it wasn't like I was going to a strange land.
Yeah.
It was just easy. Yeah, and she just took me under her wing, and she just treated me, she gave me agency within her company. It we just worked so closely together. And also a lot of our clients were based in the UK, were like UK labels. So, everybody had a high level of respect for Vivian. So I think I was kind of like viewed in a slightly different light, that, and almost taken a little bit more seriously. So yeah, working with Vivian is, I think if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't even be sitting here. I may have given up. So she kind of gave me hope, So yeah, that's my number one mentor.
I love that. And I just think it shows how, if you are in a position to, then we have to show up for each other and bring each other through where we can. because I get so many people reaching out to me, and this is not the same as not the same as your as Vivian, but if I can give half an hour of my time to have a call with someone just to give them a bit of like insight, or to help like guide them, or just to give them some advice, because the music industry can feel a bit of a mind boggle, because there's so much to it, and I feel like there's no set formula, there's no way in. I think every person I've spoken to in music has had a different way in.
Yeah.
From an intern, or to someone who's just like maybe been in management and then come over, or like there's so many different entry points, and there's so much to kind of absorb and take on board. It's like people are always wondering, like, how do I get my foot in the door? It just feels like this. I think more so like a few years ago than it does now, but it can feel like, oh my goodness, it's just like this world of showbiz that you want to be part of, and it's so exciting, but like, how do the cogs move? How do we get in? Like, how do we do those
And is
things?
it exciting? People don't realize the admin that goes behind what they see.
Listen,
It's
it is hard work, graft. And the thing is, do you know what? For example, like we could be following people in the industry, and I guess like people more have a positive outlook, right? Or at least online. And it can be a positive thing, or it can have like its downsides as well, because you might be going to award shows, or you're like on the video set, and you're posting those things, and people are only seeing those touch points. So they're thinking, wow, wow, wow. They're not they're not seeing when you're answering emails at crazy o'clock,
yeah.
or when you're in the office, like at crazy times, and the the wild things that come through that are just like you would never expect from whoever, like colleagues, artists. It's just some
It's mad.
crazy
Yeah.
scenarios that
Yeah.
you're placed in, but that you just navigate, and it's
Yeah.
just, once you've been in it a while, you just realize that it's like anything goes.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's, I'm also very mindful, and I'm very like this year, every year I say to myself, I want to preserve my energy and protect my boundaries, because we work in an industry where people are always coming at you. And like I said, I love educating, I love talking about my journey and telling the truth. Everybody wants a deal. Everybody, how do I get in? How can I, if I do, it's like, this market, the industry is so oversaturated. Trying to explain to people the real deal is sometimes it's hard to get through to them. But when you do, and I find that I do sometimes, because I sit and I speak the truth, it's like nothing is guaranteed. If you love music and you want to be an artist, um, try not to just think in one line. If you don't get a new music Friday, if you don't get this, your career's over. No, it isn't, right? You should be making music because you love music and you want people to love what you're making. The money might come, the money may never come, but you've got to be in it for, everybody has different reasons for being in it, but I'll always make sure that my truth is always told, because it's no point leading people up the garden path to let them believe that you can walk them through a door, or get them a meeting, or get them deals. It's different. The world is different. So yeah, and I'm
I
always
think,
learning.
yeah,
I'm always
100%. We
learning.
never stop learning, no matter what level you're at. We never stop learning. And you know, the one thing that I always say, because I'm in management now, and that's a whole different world as well. And I'll come on to that. But like, what I was going to say is that I've experienced a lot of artists that get signed and they think, great, I'm signed. This is it. Like, take off, like world domination. And it's so important to understand that if you're an artist, no matter what level that you're at, you have to keep learning and growing, but you have to understand the way the business works, because you are
Mm,
your brand, and
mm,
your label team, your management team, whoever you're working with, they're just extensions of your brand. But
mhm,
you have to be the captain of that ship. You have to steer it, if because only you know, especially if you've been working for a while to kind of build your audience, like to build what you've got, because there's got to be something that the label has seen in you before they're going to kind of so you've worked hard to build that. At the core of it, you understand what makes it work, and you know what your ambitions are and where you want to take it. So you've got to be able to understand, and it can be daunting because there's so much to kind of take on, but it's so worth really taking that time to understand. And like a manager's job as well is to kind of help nurture the artists and help them to understand what's important. And it's not just about the advance and the paycheck and just staying in the studio all day and just putting out the music. You've got to, like, there's so many components. And
Yeah. How do you manage it as a manager? Because the amount of people that come at me say, I want you to manage me. It's like, if you call me after 7 o'clock, I'm going to be mad. So how do you deal with them?
do you know what? I think you, for me, before we got in, like, we were officially kind of in our, we're, to be honest, we're business partners. And I've been clear that we are business partners because I wanted to understand that I wanted him to understand. And we're already on the same page, but it's not about me holding anybody's hand or anything like that. It's that we have got a vision. I bring a certain skill set to the table. I've got, X number of years in music and I know how to manage that side of things. You're the talent. You make the fire music, like, those things of it. And he speaks music. I'm just like, listen, I love it. But then it's like, okay, and we're coming together to build this brand. And so the way that I manage it is that there's certain things that I've said that, these are really important things to understand before even going forward. So I'll be completely transparent. Like, he's completely independent now, and there's been many kind of opportunities, but for me, it's been important for us to kind of build that groundwork, understand what it takes, completely understand your audience, understand where you want to take it, because taking those things on board and really grafting for it in the early stages
Yeah.
will then kind of propel you when you've then got a team around you and you know how to kind of
Yeah.
manage that team, because essentially, of course, the team that's going to be around you are all experts, in their lanes, but it's that you've got to know how to kind of craft it, and
Yeah.
that's got to be a team effort. And I've seen so many times where managing an artist, like, they want the same thing, but the way that they're going about it is kind of,
Yeah.
and I haven't got time for that. No, but no,
And
but
you
seriously,
are
like,
you are amazing. Because obviously I didn't know you the way I know you now, before 2023. And when my amazing colleague, our colleague Jasmine said, yeah, she's been at Sony for 10 years. I'm like, how come I don't see these people? Because everybody's in their different spaces. But when I did get in the room with you and the two young ladies, the team together, I'm like, you guys are hot. Do you know what I mean? You know your stuff. You're bringing stuff to the table. And I have those moments like, I wish everybody operated like that, and I wish everybody listened to advisories on how to manage their business, how to manage their career, just general just basic stuff,
and
and
do you
that
know
only
what?
comes from experience.
100%. And the great thing about working with you is just like, obviously, your stuff, and I've known that, but it's that respect that we have for each other, and being able to just know that we can just have a frank conversation. And it's just about business. Like, we just need to get something done, and we want to get it done, like, in the right way, and we're just going to make that happen.
Yeah.
Um, I've just seen we've got a question. Do you think luck plays a significant role in an artist's breakthrough, or is it ultimately inevitable that true talent rises to the top? Assuming there's loads of talent and grit there to begin with. Interesting your perspectives. That's from Maggie. Thanks, Maggie. um, I do think that luck does play a part in it. I mean, there's for me, there's no set formula. There's no winning formula, right? You're ticking these boxes and you're going to have a hit, or you're going to have an incredible, like, global, you're going to be a global superstar. There's no set formula like that. But I do think that there are things, as we were talking about, fundamentally, that you can put in place, so that when those things do happen, like when, things are coming together, you're ready to jump on it. Because I think, yeah, it's about being prepared for those opportunities and then making the most out of them in a timely way, really. Being proactive but being reactive. I think that is the best way that you can kind of navigate it and hope for success, you know, and just not thinking that, you know, you've got all the answers. It's like, for me, music is, it's like it's a wave, and you ride the wave. And there's going to be highs and lows. As I said, like even the biggest artists um experience the same thing, because there's no one size fits all. um but yeah, to answer your question, I definitely do think that luck does play a part into it. Like going viral, again, like there's certain things that you can do fundamentally to give yourself the best chance. But ultimately, it's the audience and the algorithm, but it's the audience that kind of holds the key. So you just have to try and understand them, and they're constantly changing and evolving. So once you've figured it out, it's like, oh, now they changed again. So you have to just, again, just keep riding the wave and give yourself the best chance for that opportunity.
Do they get bored quickly because everything moves so fast? You got to, as you said, you should be prepared. Somebody might have something that jumps off from the off, and it's like, where's the follow-up? And it's like, oh, it's not done yet. And then people move on. That's why I find, you know, the music industry nowadays, and much, I love it. I love the change. I love that I've been a part of the change. I don't know how I've been a part of the change, but it's just happened. Is that people move on so quickly, and it's been present and engaging with your fan base and managing your expectations. I'm always big on managing expectations. Don't be down about something because it didn't do what what you expected. You just got to keep working. The whole point of being an artist is that you're an artist, right? You keep working. There's a lot of things beyond what they see everybody else doing, and comparing themselves to other artists. You just got to be an individual and just go with the flow and enjoy it, you know? And
Yeah,
yeah,
100%. Just like what Rocco said, consistency, absolutely. Being consistent is one of the most important things. And yeah, like don't give up on that dream. That's what I say. Like, even when it feels like things are so tough, keep going, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know. And I've worked on so many campaigns where it's like one small shift, one small change has led to something so impactful, so impactful. So yeah, consistency, keep going, keep going, keep going. Know what you bring as an artist, know what you're passionate about, and just keep going. Because again, like, you do have to grow and learn. Like, you can't just say, okay, I'm going to keep consistent, it's not working, but I'm going to keep going. You have to kind of look at, okay, what things are working, what can I apply to that to kind of help that part grow, and who do I want to speak to, how can I kind of adapt a little bit to, you know to speak to them better, or to infiltrate that space. But consistency, absolutely. And as you were saying, Cookie, like, it's a fickle industry. Like, the audience moves on so quickly. Um, so you just have to try and just have fun with it. Just be authentic, and it will pay off. It will pay off.
yeah.
Um,
I always say just be in it for the right reasons. That's
mhm,
the that's I think, that's kind of like I say being my survival technique. It's like I'm in it for the right reasons because I know why I'm here. I know I do because it's what I know. People have certain skill sets and passion. It's what you know, what you love. Um, to a point where nobody can tell me that I can't do that because I love it so much. You can't tell me I can't do that. There may be restrictions and barriers, but still, you just have to push forward, and creating and building community and engaging with people and building networks. Sometimes people do find it daunting, the whole networking thing. It is daunting. It's also very exhausting. But you have to put yourself out there to a certain degree without compromising your integrity. But and also, I always say, look for other areas in the industry that are growing that you can step into. There's so
100%.
much. There's
I would
so
say don't, yeah, like what you said about integrity, absolutely. Like, you need to protect that, but also, like, it's all right to come out of your comfort zone, you know?
mm,
And I think, especially in the beginning, some artists do really struggle with that. But you just don't know what you can achieve until you start experimenting and trying different things. Again,
mm,
integrity, image, everything, you've got to protect that. But there's so many different ways to tackle um, marketing,
yeah,
getting yourself
change.
out there, So,
It's not just posters, a street team and giving out flyers anymore, which you know,
oh, listen, it's changed. It's
that was
changed.
that was my world, and it was a beautiful world. It was, I suppose, because it was the days that I could go out, right, and be out all night doing stuff, and it was that part of sitting in the office and you're doing your marketing role, but then you see your work executed externally, you know, outside campaigns, radio ads, posters, magazines, artists coming into town to do promo, and you saw the results. You know, when an artist came to do promo, you saw the difference in playlist positions, old school playlist,
Yeah.
and you know, TV performances, and it just kind of like moved the dial, and that was the process. And again, things do evolve. This industry has evolved so much. I've seen the change, and there are moments where like, oh my God, how am I gonna fit into this new change? But you just do, just kind of like transition over into working differently. You know, who would have thought that, you know, physical is, you know, physical is the biggest thing for me. You know, I miss the days of it was physical, right? All the work I did was physical. All my rewards was for physical product and the wheels that made that work. And then, you know, that kind of shifted, but it's obviously still a big thing now. And everything became downloads and streaming. And it's like, how am I going to get into that? How am I going to, because next week is going to be something else. But you just do, because we evolve as human beings. And if you're passionate about something and you're in it, you're going to move with it until you're ready to, you know, until you're ready to stop moving. But yeah, it's just,
100%. Yeah,
mm,
I think with change, you have to embrace it. Otherwise, you're just going to get left behind because it's not going to stop for you, you know?
no way.
Someone, yeah, Marcus asked the question, have you found ways to add AI to your management role, daily activities, or any form within your industry sector? I saw AI and I just thought, definitely, like, that is like a big talking point in terms of just how that kind of has impacted the industry, especially when it kind of first arrived on the scene and people are doing things that they shouldn't necessarily be doing with it. But you know, I'm always a person that is just looking at technology, looking at AI, and thinking how can we embrace this? How could, because it's here and it actually, if it's used in the right way, it's incredible. So we should be looking at that, not focusing on negative. I'm a person that always tries to focus on the positive anyway. But with change, we just have to embrace it. And I will say, like, so yes, I have found a way to kind of bring it into what I'm doing. So with my company, that's my jam. I'm actually developing a platform which is designed for the independent um, sector. So it's essentially it will be a creative platform that's powered by AI that will help to serve independent creators, artists. Yeah, so watch this space. I'll definitely be sharing more about that.
Oh, Chloe, well, you can teach me a thing or two then when that picks up.
But if anybody doesn't know about ChatGPT, everybody surely must know about that. Definitely, that's been added to my management role, daily activities. Um, I would say like what I normally do if I'm trying to kind of structure something or plan something out, I would just do the bare bones of it, just so that it's because I'm always weary, like with AI or with things like ChatGPT. I don't want it to be, you know, I want it to not spit something generic out. I need it to still be like an extension of my brain. So, and I still want my brain to work as well. I don't want to be just so kind of reliant on like these AI platforms, and because that is one of my worries actually about kind of where things are moving to. It's like we won't have to think as hard, and no, we still need to use our brain. But yeah, I'll
Mm.
create like a skeleton, and then I'll use it to just help me speed things up, so I'm not having to type all of that out. I'll tell it what I want it to do, and then I'll just tweak. I'll just say make it more this, add this, do game changer. Game changer. So if anyone hasn't got it, you don't even have to download it. You can get it on the web. Like just try it out. And there's so many other tools. Like have a play because it will free up some of your time.
Nice one, Chloe. See, I'm learning from Chloe, people. Were there any more
How
questions?
about you though? Like in terms of AI, is that
Myself,
something that
no, I mean, no, I mean, in my day to day, it's not something that's kind of like we of course those are conversations, it's industry wide conversations, but the way you use it, because that's helping you with your day to day, your work, it's kind of like your assistant basically, right? You're giving it like some bullet points. It's like, just can you tidy it out for me? So that works for you, but in my day to day, no, I'm not using it in that capacity. No, I think, you know, that's kind of like on the artist side, I would imagine,
mm,
but in my day to
yeah.
day, no. Maybe at some point, who knows? Who knows what it looks like in the future? But I'm open to embrace, but also I don't want to take away the physical manual of being able to do things. But if it's helpful and it can make things move quicker, I'm down with that. Isn't it a modern day version of the thesaurus?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
oh, it's all good.
We
All good.
yeah,
Another question.
another question. Are there any unique marketing campaigns or PR moments that surprised you in a positive way?
Mm. Oh,
Mm.
I have one, but it's from yesteryear. And
Oh, listen, those are the best ones.
it was a Little Kim campaign um for Push Your Lighters Up, actually. Bad tune. Was working on that marketing when I was at the
That is a
label. And
tune.
she was incarcerated at the time. So we had no access to the artists, we had no access to do promo, all that kind of stuff. So we all had to kind of like get creative internally. And one of the things that came up was we got her prison number and we used that prison number to put on promo items. And it just kicked. And this is pre all this modern technology right now. It was t-shirts, it was wristbands, and the single got to number 5 in the UK charts. No artists, very little budget, So yeah, that's kind of like one of my fun moments of the things we used to do, where it's like, what we're going to do? We've got no money, but we need to make it creative. We've got to get a street team on it. What can we do? And it was a Little Kim campaign, and I'm a fan,
I
of
love
course.
that. And do you know what? That made it authentic,
It
right?
was very authentic.
You didn't shy away from the situation or anything. You brought that into the campaign and made it very real.
Yeah, it was fun. It was exciting, I would say. It was exciting because there was that physical element to it and not having access, and again playing with really tiny budgets when it came to like black music at the time. So that we had to make do with what we did. So that's why we had street teams, and we just rolled shit out, man. It was brilliant. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
one surprising campaign on my side is Cat Burns. So essentially, like, she was an emerging artist. We were putting music out consistently, to just build her fan base, really set her proposition and let people know what she's about. Um, and she had a song that was really close to her heart, and it was really personal about coming out. And she she kind of released a snippet of that track, and we released it. Um, and through that, fans, were really receptive to just how open and honest and authentic that she was. And then they started to discover her discography, and that was Go, which we ended up having a massive hit with. And so we saw movement in Go while we were working the original track that she had put out. So we were looking at that and we were like, no, this is what I was talking about before. When you see signs of something
Mhm.
happening, you
Mm.
have to be ready to pounce on it. And we were just
Yeah.
like, there's something happening here. So we jumped on it. And when we sprinkled a little something on it, it started to move.
Yeah.
So we
It's
were
very
like, no,
authentic.
yeah. So and then we just tried, like, we just everything, like every opportunity that we could see where there was opportunity for growth,
Mm.
we invested in it. So we delved into different audiences, we served them different content, we really invested in the different areas, we experimented with different remixes that would serve the different spaces. And I tell you, it was such a fun campaign to work on. It was really intense,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we were so reactive. We were asking fans what they want, and we were responding to it. So we were like playing around with remixes or different sounds. Like, at that point, like the tempos were really like trending. So we were playing with like slower and faster, and we were asking which do you like, and then we will release it. And so it felt like it was
You were
label,
giving what
artist,
they
management
wanted.
team, audience. Everyone was building this. It was everyone's baby. And yeah, it peaked at number 2 in the UK, but for an emerging artist, had
That's
limited
it.
discography out. It was an incredible, incredible
Mm.
result.
Very authentic. you built it very authentically. So yeah, that's good. That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I just think it just goes to show, just living your truth, be you, be
Yeah.
unapologetically you, um, and just embrace everything.
Yep,
Just do
indeed,
it.
indeed,
Just
indeed.
do it.
Do you have any?
um,
Oh, Katania says co-pilot is useful. Yes, Lady C.
I love that they also. Oh yes, we're matching our colors. Yeah, this
Yeah.
wasn't planned, by the way, but we're just so connected. The pink came to fruition.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I had a question for you, Cooking, because when I
Yeah.
was thinking about our chat, I was just, as I was saying earlier, like for me, it's so important to have, people that you can relate to and be able to, I wish that I could watch things like this kind of 10 years ago. But
Mm.
if I know that, I've watched other things with you speaking about this, and there was no one around kind of that you felt that you could connect to. And obviously Vivian played a massive part. Um, But if you were watching something like this back when you started, like what would you want to hear? Like what would you tell, not even yourself, but like if you were in your position, like someone like you watching, what would you want to tell them um about starting out in music?
I mean, for me, I've always, during my journey and speaking to young people as an artist and people looking up to us, because we were always very careful about how we carried ourselves as women. And there was no sort of like formal training about that. It was just the way we were raised. So, but we didn't have anybody to tell us that, like dress a certain way, carry yourself in a manner where you command respect. That was our motto. And it might have been of the era, the generation, the 80s. It's all about, the fly clothes, dressing as we were B-girls, whatever. So we would never find us dressed naked. It just wasn't our style. It was a completely different time. But we knew that from the off. That was our own insight. And there were odd people around us that we could go to and speak to. Our managers at the time were absolutely phenomenal. But we didn't have black women. We wouldn't go into a record label and see black women who we could go and have that conversation with. The conversation was always with ourselves. And if we had somebody in that capacity, like I'm saying, Vivian was probably the first black executive that we saw, and we realized that this is normal, and that was when we started to realize that in the UK, because we were very instrumental in how we wanted to be presented. So we were always very very adamant that when it came to any marketing activity, artwork, what we look like, what they're putting out there, we made sure we put our two pence worth in, maybe at our detriment because we just had too much, we had a lot to say because we were very determined not to be walked over. And we didn't want to compromise ourselves at all. So I think we took a lot of inspiration from ourselves, but that also came from our upbringing, what was around us, because we've never been exposed to the music industry. We were just in our ends. Then we started going to clubs. We were experimenting, going out, we started to travel to the US to go and hit the clubs there. So we were finding it all out for ourselves. We never had we never had that one person, and it was great when I started working in the labels and finding, my sisters like Taponiswa, Mel Rudder and Jasmine and yourselves and Sandra Scott. They're just women out there where we're all just dotted around in different places, but we were never under the same roof together. Never.
Yeah.
So we just did it ourselves. We had no choice. It was a self-discovery, and we knew what we wanted.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that you knew and you had that confidence to do that, because it's not easy, and yeah, when
And
I
we
think
were, ne-
about.
we were never ripped off. There's no sad stories, dodgy
Mm,
deals, dodgy
yeah,
managers. Like, how does that happen?
mm,
But it does happen. But
yeah,
that never crossed our paths.
that's great. 'Cause I just think when I started out, there were times where maybe, like the enemy would be like all these things in my mind, but it's harder to say those things.
Mhm.
Maybe there's, you're not sure how that's going to be received. And I guess if I was in a position where I'm talking to someone in my position like 10 years ago or something like that, I would just definitely say, like, don't try too hard to fit in, like, just
Yeah.
be you, and just know what you kind of
Know
just
yourself.
thrive where you are celebrated, and know what you bring to the table, and just be you, because that is enough, and that will be incredible.
Yeah,
And I think of times where, where I have said what I'm thinking and the way it's been received, and it's not the way that I imagined, or nothing to be necessarily worried about. And it's like, actually, those little things that you can add can make or break a campaign, and
absolutely.
also help you grow as an executive, as a person, as just as a human being. So I just think, generally, of course you should care, but don't care too much. Like,
Yeah.
just, yeah, just
I
own
think
it
that's
and
the
just be you.
Yeah. And for me, I want to see more, I want to see and hear, I've spoken to you about this, is you have done phenomenal work, right? And it's our duty to make sure that we share this information, and we're speaking on panels, inviting into spaces, make yourself open for, the young generation to come to you, say, oh, can I, your door's open, can I come and talk to you?
Mhm.
So yeah, I want to see more of you, because you've got a lot, you've got a lot going on. You and a few other people I'm
Thank
targeting is
you. Yeah.
this
And
kind of.
likewise, like, I know you do a lot, but you've got so much to offer. And it wouldn't be a bad thing if there was more and more of
Yeah.
your presence. So, yeah, cheers to us doing this. It's been incredible.
And
And
thanks for those who joined.
yes, and thank
More
you to everyone that's
cookie, more Chloe, more cookie, more Chloe. Hey
Oh, we missed
guys.
the question, but like as we said, our door's open. So if anyone wants to reach out directly, um, we're here
Oh,
to continue the conversation.
well, you actually did miss one, and I want to pose it to you. Kevin Klager's asking a question of overall, how well supported did you ladies feel in the industry in the UK relative to, say, your counterparts in the United States?
um wow, it's tough. It was tough. People see the glossy side of it, but it's tough. It has been tough. But I always say I do what I do because that's what I do. And we have staying power, all right? But I'm not gonna lie, it's not been easy. But at the same time, I'm, quite thick-skinned, resilient, and I just love music. I love the culture. I love seeing, particularly, how Black culture influences music globally, and just everything. That I love being a part of that. And it hasn't been contrived. It's just something I feel like I was born with it, because we've been listening to music from a very early age. If it wasn't for music in the household, because that's how we were introduced to music for our parents from the West Indies, coming over, having parties, and whether it's at school, the church hall, youth club, going to play centre during the summer, it's just being out there. But then when it came to stepping into roles, there was a lot of brick walls. I got a lot of doors closed, and then I'm like, wow, this is mad. But it didn't stop me from still trying. And I would safely say that every job that I've done, or that I've got, I've actually applied for it. Nobody's come and said, Cooks, I'm bringing you through. This is your job. Slide you through the door. That's not been my party.
Yeah, I think my experience has been a little bit different. I think that US compared to the UK, in terms of support, like the dynamics in the US, it feels very different to the UK. And I think coming from the perspective of like a black female as well, like it's just different. Like the US, like the diversity and everything in the US compared to the UK is just different. So I don't feel like there was an intentional lack of support there, but I do feel like maybe, you know, if we're going back in time, at the level of understanding in terms of how we can better support um, the underrepresented groups within the team probably wasn't there. And I do think, we have come a long way, and there's always like work to do. But yeah, like it's just been different. It's been different to the US, and I can't speak for for anyone working in those teams there and their experience, but my perception of it, yeah, it's just that it is quite different, especially because of the
Yeah.
makeup of the teams.
And I've seen both sides of like being in the US and seeing how music departments are run and being included. I felt more included when I stepped out of the UK for a while. When I came back, I kind of came back with a bit of confidence. It's like, oh, actually, I am okay. I'm good. And it just kind of it helped me. It helped me. And I needed that. But also I already spent a lot of time traveling to the US, with the group and doing stuff. So it's not like I was going to a foreign place, and I just felt really comfortable. But it instilled a sense of confidence in me. And yeah, so I kind of like rode with that.
Yeah,
Right
that's really
on.
important. Yeah. I know that we're kind of out of time, but before we go, I just wanted to say, like, obviously, I just wanted to acknowledge the passing of Ray Ayers, and I know that Cookie, you had a personal relationship. I had my own relationship with the music, but you had a direct relationship, and I just wanted to acknowledge that, and thoughts and prayers go out to close friends and family, but definitely like someone who's made a huge contribution to the music
Yeah,
industry.
another great gone, eh?
Take
Yeah,
no one for granted.
Exactly.
exactly.
Well, I don't take you two rock stars for granted. I would just want to thank you for coming on today. Chloe, I've stalked you quietly for about 6 months before I finally caught up with you. And to have you both show up to celebrate International Women's Month, both in pink, without scripted, I mean, that was just remarkable karma. So good on you both.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you so much for having us.
Right on. To the audience, I promised you this would be the best, hour of your week. I think we delivered on that. And I told you you'd leave smarter and more inspired than you arrived. I guarantee you we delivered on that. Um, we're not on next week because of South by Southwest. If anyone's traveling to that, travel safe. Be nice to each other, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Take care, folks.